Canva in the classroom. Just kind of going to go off the top of my head here. I do use Canva every day in the classroom. I absolutely love it. It's got so many powerful things you can do that I will not be able to cover it all, but I'll show you some of the things I like that work. So here we go. First thing you want to do, everybody, is log into Canva. If your school has a Canva account, the great thing is most likely you'll have the free version, and that's the pro version of the, or I should say, the free version of the pro version if you're in the school, which means you get a lot of the extra tools inside. If not, some of the things I'm going to show you today may not be visible in your account, but it's still a great tool. So yes, I'll be using the pro account today since it's something that it's available with my school. So first thing, everybody, when you go into Canva, there's just stuff right off the bat up here that you can use to decide what you're going to make. I usually end up using the plus sign up here. It's just kind of where I go to usually to start, because it just gives me a couple more options to look at. So the plus sign top left corner is where I start. There's a bunch of things that have been added recently. There's new like coding and AI things, but I'll just show you some basics that I definitely use every day. First off, on the left side, you can look for these built-in templates, and these are like the starting places you want to go. So if you know you need to build something, it's right here, and it's really simple. It's similar to how we use, the Google Suite, where we have Sheets and we have Docs. And we have what we would call Google Slides. Here we call presentations. The really powerful thing here is where you get into videos, because you can make videos and you can also make templates for websites. So it's almost like having all of the Google Suite in one app, and I'd say it's kind of even more powerful because you can really do tons of stuff. So if you went to more, you'd see all these other different types of templates and shapes for presentations that you can make. And it's so many options. But again, keeping it simple, presentations is usually where I start. If you need some style, you can pick one of these pre-built templates. But I'm actually going to, on purpose, I'm going to start simple with nothing, just to not get it too confusing. And then we can always come back and use a pre-built template. This would be like, again, something similar to Google Slides that already has a design, or for those of you that use PowerPoint, it'd be a PowerPoint that already has a template and the styles applied. But let's just go to presentation. Let's keep it really simple. All right, so in the classroom, let's say I need to make something that I want to share with my students. I oftentimes will create like in my art and tech classes, I do something where the kids need to make something like a mood board or collect images, or maybe they need to write a little story or something like this. So this is a way to kind of share something with your students that they can then use. So I'm just going to go over some basic tools here too, in case you don't know too much about Canva, and I'll ramp it up a little later. So first off, I have a blank document. So I'm going to go over here to my background. If I click it, I get this thing in the background here where I can choose a background color. You also can press the magic background button and it could generate something for you. This is, you're using AI, which is pretty cool. So like we could say, a forest in blue. I'm just going to go for that. It's going to be thinking about it. Sometimes AI can take a little longer to think, especially if your Wi-Fi connection is a little bit slower. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't work. I've had this issue where, depending where I was, it wouldn't work. But this looks pretty cool. It's a nice little background. It's going to give my template some energy. You'll usually get a couple options to choose from, which is cool. So I like this. Forest in blue. I've got some nice pictures. So what I would do now is, since it's going to be my background and I probably don't want it to be very distracting, I'm now going to look at this top bar here, which controls whatever thing I'm clicking on, which in this case is the background. So you might want to make sure if you didn't click on it, that you're clicked on it, and then there's this little transparency slider right here, and I'm going to lower that a lot. Just lower it so it's not a distraction. This is now my background. Great. So now, what are some other things I need to do? Well, I need to definitely put some text on here. So on the left side, I have my toolbar. I'm going to press back on whatever I currently was on, which was the AI button. So now I'm looking here at the toolbar. Place I'm going to go almost every single time is the text tool. I like that it has 3 sets of sizes for types. So it's got heading, subheading, and the body. This is a great way to also remind students of how to work with hierarchy, where you want to design text in a way that's legible, but you also want to think about sizing. So we'll do that. So again, heading, this would be the name of the assignment. Let's say I want my kids to make. So let's say I'll have them do collect. Let's do a mood board. That'll be the title of the assignment. And then subheading, give them some instructions. Collect images that inspire you. Okay? Obviously, this is just a simple idea. You can really make it work for anything you want. Moving text around, just click away and click back on your text, and you can move it. I'm going to move this up. You'll notice these little lines that show up that help you drag and move things around. And that also shows you when things are centered. And you'll see that little purple line down the middle. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to drag the corners here to make these boxes a little bit wider. Again, click away, click back on. And it likes to lock in place, which is awesome. Okay, so I'm making a mood board template for my kids. And for those of you who maybe haven't taken an art class or design class, a mood board is usually that thing where you just collect images. Usually we do this before a drawing project or painting project, or even when we're building a website or something and we want to just collect information. So it's just a classic art kind of project. All right, so here we go. Simple text, pretty boring. So now if I click on a text box, I can go up here in the editor for the text, and there is a bunch of options here for different fonts. I like that it sets it up so you can choose different categories of fonts if you use this little slider right here. So if you want to make it a little more exciting, you could use one of these displays or headings. It kind of already sets you up for something that's going to look nice. So this is where students like to have fun with fonts. So whenever we do a project, I usually let them just kind of pick whatever font they like. And there's a lot of really funky fonts. Some of them are more legible than others. But here we go. Zen Dots looks cool, a little more exciting than what I had before. So you click on your text, you open up the editor. The editor is open already, so I can just go here and choose my font. And I'll make the box a little wider so that it fits. Okay. So text, obviously you can do tons more. There's sizes here, there's colors, there's much more to do. Just a quick change here, we'll click on this little rainbow. I like that it'll give you a setup of colors that would match your background, so I could use that dark blue there, and I'll use the same here for that. So just a little bit more exciting than using just black text. And if you keep going, you have all the different things that can style your type: underlining, strike through, uppercase. You can change the alignment, you can add bullets. You can do what we would call tracking and kerning in another app. In this case, it's called letter spacing and line spacing. That just means you can actually change the spacing between your lines if you have multiple paragraphs, or if you have a block of letters and you want to spread them out, you can use the letter spacing. It's a nice design feature, very common and useful, and you find it in pretty much any design app. But again, it's cool. Canva has made everything just a little bit easier to use. It's got a lot of the things you might want here. So again, kerning, ligatures, text position, anchoring the text to the top or bottom, it's all there. Anytime you open up a window, usually, and you don't want it to go away, it'll come up over here, and you can just press the X and get rid of it. So we're back to this, right? Just basics. Last kind of important thing here with text is the effects button. You can click on effects, and you can add shadows, outlines, and stuff. So I might, want to throw a shadow on that text just to make it a little bit more exciting. Most of the effects will have changes. You could modify the effects on there. You can change colors. So if I wanted to maybe actually make it bright in the background, I could throw a little yellow on there. So, made it a little more exciting. You can obviously play with this forever. That's one of the great things about this is once you get started, the more you just literally click around and goof around, you're going to love it. And I really like that in Canva. It's kind of hard to mess up because you can always press this button up here to undo. So this is great. So I've made it a little more exciting. Okay, let's say I want my kids to do something very specific. So I'm going to set up a template. So just imagine this is a worksheet. You're designing a worksheet. We give our kids instructions. Obviously, we have to give them, very specific instructions sometimes. But what's cool here is I can now go ahead and just make some basic boxes. So I'm going to use my Shapes tool under Elements, Classic, Shapes. We always need some shapes. basic shapes, polygons, stars. There's all kinds of things, and I've been using Canva for a while now, and it updates a lot. So some of these shapes are even new within the last couple years, where you can see these, which is great. So I'm just gonna keep it simple. Just gonna grab this like basic rounded square here. When I click it, it adds it to my canvas. I might change the background. So again, the editor is at the top here. So I'm going to click here and choose white. And then what I'm going to do here is drag this guy over, and I'm going to make some boxes for my kids. And let's say I'm asking them to collect images, but I want to give them some specific instructions. So I'd get my text box again. I'd add a little subheading down here. And I'm going to say collect. Again, usually we do character design, so I'm going to kind of keep it in that vein. So let's say collect textures. And if you want to make that text box smaller, you can use these little numbers here. You can also drag to make it smaller. And if you want to give it the same style that you used before, if you click on the font option up there, it will have in your recent fonts the things that you just used, which is nice. So it has Zen dots again. And I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. I'll type in maybe like 15, make it pretty small. And here we go. That looks good. So now I like this instruction here, and I have my little box for the kids to work in. So what I could do right now is also grab both of these. So if you're not clicking on them, click away and drag. And then what you could do is you could group it. That would make life easier if you could group them together. Or you could also click on these three dots here and do a duplicate, and then you can drag it over. Awesome. I'll do that again. Boom. So I have these three boxes now, right? So I can now grab all of these and move them around. I like to use those little purple guides, are really helpful. I know that this is centered now. I could even drag all of them together and make them grow bigger. There's just a lot of like really easy design stuff in here. That's why I love Canva. I'll come to Canva often. Even though I can use Photoshop, Illustrator, all this other stuff, I'm going to go to Canva. It just makes my life so much easier. So yeah, that looks pretty good. I could even make more copies. There's a shortcut which is holding Alt while you're selecting. So you can see I grabbed and made more boxes. Obviously they don't fit, so I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to grab them all. And then now I can do a resize with all of them. And you see how easy this is. It takes just a few minutes. And obviously then, I'd give my kids different instructions. So maybe, collect textures. And maybe here I would have them, collect characters. And then how about collect locations, right? And so if we're building a character, textures, characters, locations, just something like that, right? You're giving them boxes to play with and things to do. All right, so you create a worksheet. And since this app is made for images, when you share this with your students, they're also going to get all these choices. And the elements choice is amazing because obviously we just saw it. We just did some shapes. But in elements, if you go here to graphics, and if you keep going down, there's tons and tons of options. There's also photos. Now, if it doesn't show up, you can add these settings. I've been using Canva for a while, so I have all the search options turned on. You might not see them. So if you don't see all these options, if you scroll down here to apps, and you scroll down a little bit more inside of apps, there is a little thing here that says more from Canva. You might need to turn on photos and audio if you don't see everything that I see in videos. So when you go to elements, I'll repeat that. If you don't see all the options I have here, just go here to apps and then just go ahead and turn on photos, etc. So I use this because I can then tell my students that they can stay within the app and they don't have to go anywhere. And if they're in elements and they're looking for textures, right, it's going to give them all these different textures. So they can go to photos or graphics and they can find all these different textures. So it's a pre-built search engine, which is amazing, right? So then the kids, if they're building, again, they're designing a character and they want to make a robot. Okay, so they're looking for metallic textures. They could just start grabbing pictures and dragging them and dropping them in, right? So this assignment, I could give it to them and they could start working on it because they're going to see the same app that I see. Okay. Now, in terms of getting this to your students, what do you do? A couple things I've learned along the way is that you can share the template with them. I like to actually make a copy of my templates before I share because that way I have a backup version. And this will make a little more sense later. So what I would do here, right? So at the top is where you can name your file. You can go up here to File and Rename, or you can click here at the top. It does the same thing. So let's say this is, we'll call it a mood board project. So I would call it mood board project. And then I might give it a specific name here too. I might say the teacher version, okay? And I'm actually going to keep it just like this, and I'm not going to share this version because I'm going to do a bit of an extra step before I give it to the kids. You don't have to do this step, but I've found that if I share a template with my students, these clickable objects can move, and it gets confusing for them. You can grab everything and you can lock it. But I've also found that when you share that with students, they might unlock it and then they kind of make a mess of it. So extra step, but just go with me on this because I've done it and it makes sense. You'll want to save your teacher version for yourself. And then this worksheet, I don't really want the kids to move anything in my worksheet. So I just want them to get a flat worksheet from me. And in that case, I'm going to go to Share. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm actually going to go ahead and download this as a PNG. Now, a PNG is a flat image. So how did I do that? I went to Share and Download, and I went to PNG. And the reason I'm doing PNG is because now I'm going to download this to my computer. It's going to give me a flat image, okay? And now that it's given me a flat image of my project, I'm going to make another version of this assignment that I'm going to share with my students. That way they won't be able to move these boxes around. And again, I've learned that this is worth doing because then I don't have to worry about that one kid who just makes a mess of my worksheet and spends all his time or her time fixing that. So this version will stay with me. I can always come back to this. I can reuse it. I can change it. But what I'll do now is I'm going to go back to Create. I'm going to go back to Presentation. This is a brand new blank presentation. And now I'm going to go here to Uploads, and I'm going to upload a file. In this case, it was in my downloads of the mood board. It's just a flat picture now. Okay, and now I can drag this flat picture and apply it to the background. You could just drag it, right? And now the kids won't be able to move anything around. You've already figured it out, and now you can share this with them. So now I would give this a title again. I would type in mood board project, and I would call this student version. Okay. Now I have both of these saved, so I can always come back to it. And now I have this flat image. The kids can start working right on top of it. So what am I going to do here? How do I share this with my students? This is where it gets interesting because you have, again, multiple options. You can go to Share up here in the top corner, and you can go straight to Google Classroom. So if you hit this Google Classroom button, you can actually load it onto one of your Google Classrooms. So if I go to Google Classroom right here, it's going to continue. It's actually going to allow me to literally make this an assignment straight into Google. So if I press continue, it's going to ask me to log in, and then I can literally pick the classes that I want to add it to, which is amazing. I'm not going to do that right now because obviously you may not have Google Classroom, but I want you to know that that's built in. And it'll make an assignment. It'll show up in Google Classroom. It'll have a link to this project, which is great. Another thing I do, and this kind of, I tend to like a little bit better because I might be thinking about what I'm going to do in Google Classroom, or I may be rearranging stuff, or I might want to pre-build this before I know the name and the number of my assignment in Google Classroom. Is I can have this built. Let's say I build it on a weekend or a week before, and if I know I already have built the other stuff on Google Classroom, I can go to share, and I like to do a template link. Now, if you don't see it, again, sometimes you won't see all these buttons. You can click on see all, and if you go to see all and you scroll down, you should see a bunch of options here. And if you don't see what I see, again, you can click on see all, and it's going to give you tons of options. Now, there are other teaching apps you can share with here. I really only use Google Classroom, but I know that it can connect with other different teaching apps. Again, I like going back up. For me, the one I would be using would be Template Link. Now, why Template Link? Template Link is usually available for your school, and since your students will also have this Canva app, the Template Link is great. This one, it's going to say anyone with this link can use this design as a template. Sign is required, but you won't know who has made copies of this design, which for me is fine because I'm only sharing this in my classroom. And so when I do create template link, I click on this, and now I can copy this link, and this copied link, I can then put this into Google Classroom. This gives me more flexibility. I can put it into whatever Google Classroom I want. I end up doing this. What the students are going to see is when they go to this link, they're going to get this. And then they can just go nuts from there. I won't see, like it says, I won't see who's working on it, but I actually also like that because I want less things to worry about, so this makes life easier. Now, there are other options, though. So when you do go to share, there was the ability here to do assign, right? So on assign, you can actually share it to specific students. So you can share via the link, and this one, you're going to keep track of it a little bit more. Again, I don't really do this one. I try to avoid the headache of having another thing to click on. So I really use Google Classroom as the hub for them to turn in, but you could experiment with this. So if I was to share it with a link, it'd be an assignment that they can get a code for, and then you can actually share this with them, and then you'll have access to looking at what they do. Very cool. I don't really like to do it. Again, as a teacher, I have way too many things to look at. So I just use Google Classroom for everything. But this is very useful. And some of you might argue that it's better. And you know what? You might be right. Cool. So that's a basic setup for an assignment, guys. Now, obviously, what I did here is I just built it from scratch. It took a while. Let's just make it even easier. Just go back to the Canva homepage here. So just going to press on Canva to go back. And this is where you can turn on tons more powerful stuff. So for example, here there are templates, and there is the Canva AI. So if I'm here on the main page, I can just go to templates. So for example, let's say we want to find a template on state capitals. I'm not sure if we're going to find one, but we'll take a shot. Yep. Boom. Already some stuff that's built in. I've got quizzes. Obviously, you got to double check this stuff. Is it good? I don't know. But when you look at it, you can actually kind of cycle through them, and it kind of shows you what's in there. You're going to get some sample stuff that is obviously just more like a blank template, but then you might actually find some stuff that's exactly what you need. So coloring pages, awesome, right? A United States word search, great. You'll also find things that are pre-built and have videos. So it's insane, to be honest with you. It's nuts. There's so much stuff you can find in here. But how about a little bit more specific? Instead of just looking for state capitals, getting lucky with that, let's actually go to Canva AI. So this is where you can actually design something and have it create something for you. So let's just get a little bit specific. Create a state capitals worksheet. And I'm going to create student activities. Let's make it for 8th grade. And let's do it for history and understand. Now you're going to let it think. Again, might take a while, might not take a while. It's going to give you some options down here. State Capitol Research Poster, State Capitol Data Challenge, State Capitol's Reading and Review. So you can now, let's just go to Data Challenge and we'll generate this. Is it going to be awesome? I'm not sure. We'll try it out. I've tried this a couple times, and I usually have to modify whatever the AI thing comes up with. And sometimes you might actually spend more time than you need to. So I don't know. I can't tell you I love it or I don't love it. That's something you might want to experiment with. We're giving it a couple minutes here. It is pretty robust in what it does, which is pretty cool. So sometimes it's great. So it's going to give you an activity. Let's open it up. Let's see what it looks like. You got to check spelling, or I should say grammatical things, because sometimes AI will write things maybe in a way that you wouldn't write it. Looking in capitals on the United States map. Teacher guide, so it gives us some instructions. It even tells you what to delete. In this activity, you will learn about the capitals of the United States. Okay. Here are some words that you will use. Capital state geography. It's got a list of capitals. My history teachers out there, double check that that's correct. You definitely should always double check the AI stuff. Sometimes weird things happen. Example states with the capital. That's our da-da-da. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you'd have the students look for capitals that start with different letters. I like these activities. I'm just reading it along. It even allows them it shows them how to make a magic chart in Canva. So this is actually a pretty big lesson. And it's done. So a great example of what you could do with the kids. It even shows you right here that you would delete this section before you share with the students. And like we mentioned, you could go to share, and you could share this with your kids. And done, right? Great. So let's just go back to Canva. This will end up being here in your collection of work, so you can have it for later if you need it. Let's try something else. So again, templates. Let's go back here for templates, and let's just look at what's the other options. So we just did the Canva AI one, which was, kind of did a lot for us. But let's just look back to state capitals. And if we kept it on templates, this would have been things that were already designed by someone else, right? Which is cool because you can still go in there and modify. So let's go to this first worksheet here. Again, you got to double check everything because someone else made it. It shows you who made it, and it gives you the option here to do a customize. It also shows you the grade and information. Great. Let's go to customize. Cool. Now, this is a great place to start, right? If you like the way it is, awesome. Since it's a template someone else has designed, you can go in here. You can modify fonts. You could change things to whatever it is that you want to make it match your specific aesthetic. And if you make mistakes, you can always go back and leave it back to how it started. You could decide, for example, oh, you know what? I know my kids need more space to read, so I'm going to make everything a lot bigger. Cool. Maybe, make these blocks bigger. If you went down here to add a page, you could make another page. If you go down here to the bottom right corner, you could look at the pages option. I usually like this a little bit better because there's a button right here that allows you to just duplicate. So you can click on these 3 little dots here and do a duplication. I've got 2 pages. It's great. So like I was saying, I think my kids might need more room, or I don't want to confuse them with all this. So let's say on page 1, I'm actually going to take away some of these options here, right? And I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to give them more room to write, right? Because I know my kids need that, sure, right? So on page number 1, I'm going to give them much more room to write. And then on page number 2, now I've got rid of this one because I already have it on page 1. So I'm going to grab my block around the whole thing. You'll notice right now, guys, as I'm dragging around, just be careful to drag around just exactly what you want to get rid of. There's a little trash can right there, and we'll make it match. So we're going to grab this whole thing here, and we're going to move it using this little cross over here. Move this guy. You see when I'm clicking on stuff, I can just drag it, okay? And I'm going to make this one longer too. Cool. So I've given my kids more room to write the answer. I had a pre-built template. Great. I could share this if you want to do handouts, right? Yeah, you can share this, and you can download this to a printable format. For most of my school printing needs, I usually need to save in PDF, so I'd be saving here to PDF. And I could save to PDF, and boom. In terms of a name, you might want to give this a better name for yourself. So I could call this State Capitals Worksheet. Right, because it had a name before that was pre-built. So that's cool. All right, let's go back up here to the top. Let's go back to Canva. So we found a template that was already built for us, which is awesome. The other thing in templates, even before going into AI, there's so many teachers that are using this stuff that's why there's so many cool things out there. You do have to check the work. You don't know if it's going to be perfect, but let's just go back to state capitals. Because I wanted to show you that there was worksheets, but there's also the options to make videos. And one of the things I really like about videos is that kids love making videos because they are on YouTube all day long. So if we go to videos here, we can see here an example of what the video does. It has videos within a little image here, has a cool little kid. Okay, it says what language they use, which is cool, right? So this would be a good project for the kids to maybe change the text, because all of this could be editable. So let's go ahead and customize this. Now we're customizing a video, okay? So, but don't be afraid. Video works just like everything else. Let's just stay on this first page, okay? If you don't see all the pages down here at the bottom and you see it as a scrollable option, that's just this button here that I had pressed earlier, pages, okay? So each page is an actual video now. So this is interesting because now we're actually dealing with something that's going to play as a video. So again, there's that button down here for pages. And if you take a look down here at the bottom here, you could also go to grid view, and you can see that this has quite a few pages, which is great. And this, again, being a video, it's going to be something that we can actually play with. So if you go down here in the bottom left, there's a duration button. And this is actually going to show you a timeline slider. So, yep, Canva can edit video. It's bonkers because my students love making videos, and the fact that you can click here on duration, that means that you can control each of these blocks, and each of these blocks you can slide left and right to make your video longer and shorter. Most students know how this works because it's very similar to the iPhone interface for editing video. So you'll find that with just a bit of instruction, they'll get it. They jump in pretty fast. So, but let's go back to this first page. So imagine this as slides, like a Google slide, but it's a video. So the bars have a time. Down here, this is a 5-second long video. So let's just look at this slide. This slide is editable. We have a picture, a background, another picture, and then here is another picture, and then, or excuse me, some more text and some more text, right? So if I broke that apart, and I want to go back, I'll go back. But if you see that what's playing is this animated text, okay, is playing inside of basically of a see-through picture of a TV, okay? So this animated text, just so you know, if you were to click on it, I'm actually going to delete stuff in this template just to make it a little bit more simple for you. This right here has this animation added to it. And again, it's pre-built, so you don't really have to worry about it. But if you do want to change it, if you click on the text and you go to animate, it'll show you in this list of animations what has been applied to it, okay? And so it has this smooth animation applied. It has a speed option, and it's already there. It even has a path of the direction that it's moving. Right now, if you want to delete that, you could delete it, or you could leave it, because the cool thing is you could keep that cool animation and just change your own text. So again, I deleted a bunch of stuff, but I'll go back. Don't worry about deleting stuff and making a mistake. So you could say right here, let's go back to the text. You do have to sometimes move things around so it's easier to click. I'm just going to go in here and say, now I can write my text, right? Whatever my text is. And if I put everything back the way it was, it's still going to play, but now it's going to have my text. So this is the good thing, is that the kids can go in here and edit. Now, are you going to have more things that can move around and break? Yes. So you're kind of opening up a can of worms for the kids, because now you have an editable document with lots of layers, but you'll be surprised. They actually can do pretty good with it. A good little topic now would be to talk about layers, everybody. When you are looking at objects that are stacked on top of each other, if you click on these three dots and you go to layer, you can actually just do send backward and send forward, but you could also go to show layers. And if you click on show layers, it actually shows you how the layers stack. This is a good thing to show the kids and obviously for yourself, so you can see what thing you're clicking on and where it is that you want to go, okay? So if you know you want to just edit the text, it's a lot faster just to go to this, because you can then just start editing the text, because you're going to find the text block. But as you can see, since I have a bunch of layers, it can get a little nuts and get a little messy. So again, layer and show layers. But the good thing is you don't want to be afraid of this, because like I said, the students are really good at working with video, and you'll be surprised that they won't need much instruction once they see the basics. Let's go to the second page here. So let's say you're going to tell your kids, all right, kids, I want you to add a new country for each slide. I want you to change the flag, and I want you to give the kid a new sentence, right? Sure, the kids can go in here. So let's say they welcome to, and I was born in El Salvador, so El Salvador. Okay, and then I'll drag this over here. And then I would say, hi, I'm Sophie. We can leave the kids' names saying, I'm from El Salvador. I speak Spanish. Great, right? Now, the flag, I want to go ahead and change this. So where would I find all these things? Now, hopefully we'll find it within Canva. We might need to look outside, go into Google and saving, but let's give it a shot. Let's go to Elements. Let's type El Salvador flag. There it is. Great. And look, perfect. Here's even a little hand built in. Perfect. This was pretty cute too. So let's get this little cute one here. Let's delete that one. And what else is changeable here? This is a city. I think this is probably the capital city. So San Salvador is the capital of El Salvador. Awesome. And then what do I have to do in here? Well, this has a video that has something from Mexico. So we're going to actually put this video to make something from El Salvador. So again, if you press play, what's cool here is there's a video playing in that TV. So we want to switch out the video. Again, don't be afraid. You can move stuff. You can move it and then position it later. But here's that video, right? So we want to get rid of this video. So I'm going to just move that TV for a second just so I can see where everything is. And let's actually go back to Elements and look up a video for El Salvador. Now, there is a temple in El Salvador. It's called the Tazumal. I don't know if we're going to get a video, but yes, we are. Or we got some photos, which is cool. Right, so here's this is a temple that's actually a Mayan temple in El Salvador. So I could put that picture in there. If I clicked here, I could drag it, go to layers, go to show layers. And I'd want to bring this video, or this image, excuse me, over the original video. I could delete that video and take this and make it smaller, and then move that TV. Right? Cool. And again, you can go to layers if you want to take a look at how everything is layers, show layers. So let's go back to the picture and move that over. Now, if there wasn't a video for El Salvador, let's go back. Let's see if there's one. I'm going to guess there's going to be one. El Salvador. Let's go to video, because we couldn't find one when I looked up the specific place. But if I go to videos, there's tons, right? So here's some churches. El Salvador is the name of other cities in different parts of the world, so you might get some other stuff. But let's do San Salvador. And again, we're just really seeing what do we got here inside of Canva. And we got a lot. There's a lot of stuff in here. So we got some good videos. Here's a beach. So let's just experiment with this beach so you guys can see a video. So let's just drop that beach in. Cool. Same thing. 3 dots. Layer. Show layers. Bring that down here. Pop it over where it used to be. Shrink it down. It needs to look like it's in that TV, so we're going to make it a little bit smaller. And as I'm dragging, I can resize. Perfect. And there it is. So now I've replaced everything. And if we wanted even to replace our little, it looks like a little Girl Scout character here, this is something that we could have changed as well. So if we go back to the search window and let's just look at, we'll just look up Girl Scout or Boy Scout, Girl Scout, and cartoon, because it looks like she's a little Girl Scout there. So yeah, here's a whole bunch of them. So if I want to put another kid there, change it up. And you could tell the kids to put their favorite animal or to find an animal that lives in that country and to then name the animal or all kinds of stuff. So you can see here that a pre-built template has tons of stuff the kids can play with. This could be a whole couple days, and you'd be surprised at what the kids can do, especially if you give them the option to change and modify things as necessary. And again, there's so many little elements in this video that could be edited. Like we have here this little illustration of a temple, right? So we could have let's say since we're on a beach, we're going to get an illustration of a palm tree, okay? Under graphics, here's some illustrations. And your very cool little palm tree, right? Cool. So I changed it all. I had a pre-built template. I could even style this up a lot more, make the text bigger, move things around. It's great. You could also add a text block in here where you give the kids instructions and then you can tell them to delete the instructions after, since this is an editable thing. Now, if you want it to be editable, completely editable, when you share it or when you assign it, you can just do the straight Google Classroom share, or like we saw, you can do the assignment share. That's going to give everything, all these layers will be clickable, which is amazing. So I've shown you 2 basically ways to work with assignments. One where you share an editable document that has all the blocks, which is fun, can be a little more of a headache. And then if you remember what I did first is I showed you just sharing a flat worksheet where the kids can't move things and mess things up. And as teachers, we know that sometimes we need both. We want the kids just to do one topic and not get confused by any technology. And there's other times where we want the kids to really have fun and experiment. And that's one of the great things about Canva. And let's see. Let's go back to the top. And like I said, everybody, there's so much to do in Canva and so much to learn that I'm barely scratching the surface here of what we can do. But let's go back here to create, because I do want to show you that there are some new things in Canva. One of the ones that I have not really played with is Canva Code. And it will code interactive things for you. So it almost makes like interactive games for you, which is even more nuts. So let's do, I think a flashcard game would be cool. So we can have a pre-built flashcard, create an interactive flashcard game for vocab learning. So we're going to do this. Let's just stay with state capitals. Create an interactive flashcard games for United States state capitals. And let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. We might need to take a minute here. It's literally going to code for us while we think. This could be a cool thing for you to show your kids, especially if you're dealing with coding too, because you could take this all apart, and that's a whole world of fun there, just breaking that down. I'm not sure how long this is going to take. Looks like it's getting now to the part where it's building the actual site, the divs, for those of you who know HTML5. I'm excited actually to see what it does. It should be an interactive type object. And as you can even say down here, guys, it says Canva code can make mistakes. So you have to always double check. I'll create an interactive flashcard game for you to help you learn the 50 states. Click show answer to reveal each capital. Pretty cool. Click the card. Awesome. And if you got it right or got it wrong, great. Next card. So this would be a great like classroom game. Maybe this could be a fun like raise your hand type game. Whoever gets it right gets a prize, or you could have teams that are doing it. It's great. So let's just look at this right now, everybody, and let's go to using a design and let's see what it looks like. We get a couple options. I'm actually going to choose website because this one should be this one should be interactive. So if I double click it, I can now go through the actual site. Let's make this a little bigger. Got it. Yeah, this looks good. Let's see if I can preview publish. Let's do preview. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's a little bit big. I think we should kind of make it a little bit smaller. Let's see if it allows me to make things smaller. Yes, it does. This is good. So I'm actually going to just resize the site. This is as someone who's worked in web design, it's insane that this is so quick to edit. Let's try that. Let's go to preview again. Yeah. Let's go to publish. Let's see what happens. We don't necessarily need to make it visible on the internet. Page 1. Continue to publish. It's capitals, state capitals, teacher name. So I would put my teacher name right there. So let's just do publish. Let's see what happens. Very cool if it works. This will be hosted through Canva. So let's go to it. Boom. We made a website, everybody. We made an interactive website that is a state capitals quiz.